Hello, this is Dulce Reyes presenting Chapter 10, The Return of Juan Seguin, Latinos, and the Remaking of American Politics. The historical value over the years, the Latino community have shaped politics in the United States by making a peaceful revolution to change the political landscape of voting, political representation, and creation of organizations. Events that shaped the Latino culture. These events are divided into 5 different time periods. The first one would be integration period from 1950 and 1964. After World War II, Mexican Americans came back with more confidence to fight against the segregation. Civil leaders such as Dr. Hector Garcia and Attorney Garcia and other veterans formed the American GI Forum, that was a civil rights and veteran advocacy group that helped Hispanics turn to politics and begin to challenge the exclusion of Mexicans and other Latinos from the voting booth, since people of color weren't able to pay for poll tax. In the 1960s, Hispanics' pressures and riots were able to push a series of landmark bills through Congress and end the discrimination and segregation and start a rebellious period. The second period would be the Radical Nationalist period from 1964 to 1974, which was the greatest period of civil unrest in the United States during the 20th century. This new generation consists of younger, radical, and lower-class groups that formed groups such as Mecha, Los Siete de la Raza, and the Alianza, who seek to change America by calling a reinterpretation of Latinos in America. Also, organizations such as Cesar Chavez United Farm Worker Organization Committee focus on winning the basic rights such as the right to vote, right to unionize, the right to basic government services that Mexicans and Puerto Ricans had as American citizens. The third will be the voting rights period from 1975 to 1984, where revolutionary period ended and consisted of a post-war of Latino leaders who wanted new factors to distinguish the voting rights period. This generation of Latino leaders formed the first national coalition across ethnic and racial lines and expanded their movement into pro-Latinos communities with voter registration and election campaigns. Also, several groups rose to win several voting rights suits against the large election systems that had shut out Mexican Americans from office for decades. The Rainbow Period from 1985 to 1994 was when Jesse Jackson seeked the Latino vote when running for president to have more diversity. His campaign brought millions of first-time voters to the polls in the South and Northern ghettos. Jackson's movement also was able to register new voters and to remove legal obstacles to simple voting registration. At the end, he excluded Hispanic leaders, which was not very good for him. The last would be the Third Force period from 1995 to today. Was a period where Hispanics rushed for citizenship and there was an increase of voters and a newfound independence by Latino leaders. After California's Proposition 187 in 1994 and the Terrorist Act in 1996, undocumented people were scared and tried to apply for citizenship. The Latino nationwide vote has quadrupled since 1976, and in 2008, out of 31 million Hispanics in the United States, 19.5 are citizens and 11.5 million are legal residents. By 2009, 6,600 elected Latinos were elected as officials in the nation. Mexicans, Puerto Ricans, Cubans, and other Latin American communities have united with the purpose of fighting discrimination giving birth to a new hybrid racial ethical pool in the U.S. politics. Also, with the increase of Hispanic population, political influence also grew. By 2004, Latinos like Mel Martinez, American Salazar, John Corsine, and Robert Menendez obtained seats in the U.S. Senate. The biggest symbol of progress came when President Obama appointed the first Hispanic and third woman in the Supreme Court Justice Sonia Sotomayor in 2008. The connection to the 21st century that Latinos practice today. Although Latinos are still struggling with voting participation and political representation, more and more Latinos are getting involved in politics. Latinos are the largest minority in some states. Due to the increased population, many politicians find it very important to seek the Latino vote. Latino politicians are also increasing, where Hispanic leaders are fully grasping the demographic transformation and are refusing to fall into the racial issues and be taken for granted. Juan Seguin, also known as father of Latino politics, was important for his political representation among Latinos. He was a rich landowner and Federalist who opposed Mexican President Santa Anna. He was part of a small group of Mexicans who joined the Texas rebels in the Alamo and later became senator of the Texas Republic. He also served several terms as mayor of San Antonio, but in 1942 he was forced to flee to Mexico by Anglo newcomers. He also fought with Houston's army at the Battle of San Jacinto. The key terms, the first one that we have is racial gerrymandering. It's a manipulation of an electoral constituency to favor a group or parties of class. This political practice dilutes the voting power of racial minorities like Latinos as a method of voter suppression. In 1996, Immigration and Tourist Act is a proposed Sensenbrenner bill in 2006 and state and municipal laws empowering local law enforcement to arrest the undocumented. This act gave fear to illegal immigrants and inspired them for citizenship. The poll tax, a tax of a fixed amount per person levied on adults and often linked to the right vote. For Latinos, the poll tax was an impediment to voting due to the amount of money that it was being charged, something the Latinos lacked. Four, we have barrios, a Spanish-speaking neighborhood or town. The barrios were a way to segregate Latinos where they couldn't have a voice or any part in the political world. Two-class theory asserts that the 14th Amendment only applied to African Americans subjected to discrimination by white. This legal concept affected the Latinos by implying that they couldn't face discrimination because they were considered as white. And next we have social polarization. That was a social psychological phenomenon that occurs when a society is divided into distinct groups that are the opposite ends of a spectrum. Social polarization took place when Latinos rose with riots and organizations to fight for equality for all Latinos. Integrationist is someone who supports and works for social integration. Latinos wanted to be more involved in American societies, and they saw that no better way than getting involved in politics. Radicalism is the beliefs or actions of people who advocate their political and social reforms. Latinos awake a radicalism in the 1960s to fight for political equality and was later improved in the voting rights periods with more reform movements. Demographics, the statistical characteristic of human population. Hispanics have become one of the largest minorities in the United States, making their vote very important. Coalition is formed when two or more groups temporarily work together to achieve a common goal. During the Rainbow period, the two most important minorities, Black and Hispanics, worked together for a common cause, equality. The ethical dilemma would be Latinos are still struggling for political equality and representation. The solution is Latinos needs more political engagement and participation, like voting and electoral participation, organization to protest and look after Latinos' rights, and more Latinos representations, such as politicians, artists, etc., to influence more Latinos. And lastly would be campaign involvement to reach out to more Latinos. And here is the video.